Hi, my name is Mike, and I'd like to introduce you to CoVet. CoVet is the most powerful veterinary co-pilot in the world. CoVet really is a veterinarian's best friend. CoVet will help you write medical records. It'll help you review extensive documentation. You can chat with CoVet about different cases that you're working with, and it's extremely customizable. You can use completely customizable templates. You can personalize templates we provide for you. You can use custom snippets and abbreviations and misspellings, and there's a number of parameters you can assign to all of that. And CoVet works really seamlessly with your team. Your support staff can get involved. They can start a case for you. They can work through the documentation, help export that to different practice management software, and it works with any practice management software to boot. There's a ton to go through, but I'm just going to show you a couple really handy use cases today that really will help veterinarians elevate their level of care. All right, so we've logged into CoVet. We've opened up a brand new case here, and we're going to jump into the very first use case. Now, the most common use case for CoVet is that you're going to use it to record a live conversation with your client, and then you're going to have CoVet generate a SOAP record from that natural conversation. And this is the best part. It can be completely unstructured. This is not dictation. It's very different from that. The doctor does not have to change their habits, and so the learning curve for CoVet is extremely minimal. I'm actually going to show you an example here. We're going to start a new recording, and I've got an actual audio from a real consultation between a doctor and a pet owner. And I'm just going to simply play it in the background, and we're going to see the record that CoVet generates from that. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Oh, thanks for seeing us, by the way. This is my little dog, Jim. You haven't seen him before. He is actually 12 years old. He's male. He is neutered, and I know he doesn't look it, but he's a little terrier cross.
Okay, great. What's going on with Jim?
He started limping, and he's got a really sore foot, and I can't tell what the heck is going on.
Okay. Did it start at a particular time? Any obvious injury or anything like that?
Well, nothing that I really noticed, but to be honest, I mean, gosh, we were at the beach last week and oh my God, the weather was awful. It was raining almost the whole time and there was so much cleaning to do. So I really haven't had that close of an eye on him until probably about Tuesday this week.
Okay, that sounds lovely. Other than the weather and the injury, obviously. So let's check out the physical exam. They weighed him in reception. He's 5 kilos. His heart rate's about 100. He's panting, so I can't quite get a respiratory rate, but seems like a very nice, friendly guy. He's taking treats from me. But it does look like his left front paw is definitely sore. Like I see him holding it up there. And then if you look closely, I can see that the nail on his 5th digit actually looks like it's a little bit torn or avulsed. Like you can kind of see it's pointing out at this weird angle. And it's, oh, okay, that must be somebody in the waiting room. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think that loose nail is probably the cause. And this kind of thing does happen from time to time. The good news is I expect it to heal well. What I think we should do is, as gently as possible, we're going to try and remove the loose part of the nail that's kind of hanging in the breeze, and that's going to make him feel a lot better. It will take a while to heal, but what I'm going to do is send you home with some pain medication in the meantime. So basically, we're going to use a drug called Metacam. I want you to give him a 5 kilogram dose once a day for the next 5 days, and it's a liquid, you can squirt it in his food. It does come with the risk of stomach upset, so things like vomiting and diarrhea. And basically, if you give it with a full meal, it'll help avoid that. But if you do see any signs of stomach upset, stop the medication, give us a call, and let us know. So how does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for finding that.
Okay, amazing. No problem. Hope your next beach trip is a little bit more fun. And we'll be in touch. We'll give you a phone call in a few days just to check and make sure things are going well. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks again for your help.
Okay, perfect. You're welcome.
Okay, so we'll stop it there. Perfect. Now we'll go ahead and generate our medical record. Now, as you can see, there was a lot that was discussed. They even talked about going to the beach and other things like that. And we're going to see what CoVet generates from that. Now, I'm going to really quickly try to show you some of the other documents that you can generate from this. So we've got here a number of different types of SOAPs. You've got COHAD dental charting, radiology, a number of mini SOAPs. We've got equine templates, surgery documentation. We've got exotics templates, acupuncture, rehab, internal medicine, and that's just our records. We've got a number of summaries and we've got a number of emails as well. And so there's a lot that CoVet can generate for you. But let's go back to our main screen because we can see now that CoVet has gone ahead and generated for us the SOAP documentation. Now, you will notice in this particular record, this is a SOAP without default normals. You know what? Just for demonstration's sake, let's go ahead and actually generate a SOAP with default normals as well. Let's go back to the main one though, just while that generates. And you can take a look here, and we've got our subjective section completed for us, our objective section with any findings that are indicated down below, our assessment, as well as our plan for moving forward. Now, this is a template without default normals, so it has left those defaults blank, of course. But if we go back to the one that was generated with default normals, we'll see this one's a little bit more complete with all of our defaults provided, but we've listed some of the abnormalities and everything else down below. Now, we can edit this document directly from within CoVet if we wanted to, or of course, we could just keep it as is and export it directly into our PIMS. Now, keep in mind that was only a 3.5 minute, actually less than that appointment, and so not a ton of detail to extract from a very quick interaction like that, but you can see how that was neatly organized into a medical record. Perfect. So now let's move on to the next use case. What we're going to do next is summarize a PDF. My favorite real world example of this happening is that you've got 5 minutes to go and see a brand new patient that you've never seen before, and you're handed a 30-page PDF, in an email. And so I'm going to show you an example of how a doctor could take that PDF and quickly summarize it. We're going to go to add other content, new PDF, upload PDF, and we're going to select a PDF from our documents. I'm uploading here a pretty extensive document about a patient named Mia. The personal information, of course, has been redacted for these purposes, but there's a lot of pages here. It would take a human a lot of time to go through that document. So we're going to add that to our case, and much faster than a human could, CoVet's going to have reviewed that PDF. In the meantime, I'm actually going to ask CoVet to go in and generate 2 summaries for me. We're going to do a brief summary as well as let's do the detailed summary. We're going to click generate, and now CoVet's going to go and do its work to draft that for us. Now, I'll go into one of the summaries before it's even drafted, and I just want to highlight a few things about when we get this summary. For starters, it's going to generate this. We do have the ability to go and modify that summary in case you want to add some things to it, for instance, or we want to send it somewhere. But another really useful feature is that once it's generated, I can actually have CoVet read that summary to me. This means that I can have it read it to me while I go and manage something else that I'm dealing with in the clinic. Now, I bet you the first one's already generated. Yeah, there you go. So there's our brief summary. This is talking about how, we've got Mia as a 7-year-old spayed female Morkie with a history of atopic dermatitis. She's been managed with cytopoint injections, approximately Q4 to 6 weeks, along with various other treatments. You can read the rest, but you can see that it's been able to actually generate that. Now, this is a brief summary for a long document, and so maybe not super valuable for me in this moment, but I do want to point out the ability here to read that document to me. But let's take a look at the detailed summary. This will definitely go into a lot more detail, and so we can see a list of vaccines provided to Mia, the list of medications provided in that time, any adverse reactions, and of course the medical history, all summarized from the entire document. So this saves me a ton of time, and as I mentioned, I can even have it read it to me, so it's very useful. Perfect. Now I'm actually going to go right into the next use case here, which is chatting with CoVet. Chatting with CoVet is extremely valuable because it can look at an entire case and CoVet can talk to you about what's going on in that case. So we're going to say here, list all vaccines administered in the last 2 years. Okay, we're going to click send. Now CoVet's going to think about that for a bit, having reviewed all the information in the document, and we're going to see CoVet actually type back to us some detailed information regarding the PDF. So there you go. You can actually see it coming back with that. Now, of course, that was already in my summary, so a little redundant for me in this particular scenario, but it really does highlight the power of CoVet. And we'll actually go back to the recording case that we had right before this, and notice that I can have a recording, I can have a PDF, I can even add other types of content. For instance, the ability to take an image of a piece of paper. Maybe I've taken handwritten notes, or I've been handed an actual physical piece of paper that has the history on it. I can even add that to my case if I wanted to. And then I can go into chat and with all of this content, have a conversation with CoVet about that case. I might be asking for specific information. I might just want to say, hey, where did the family go on vacation? Because I want to put that in my email and wish them, or tell them, I hope you had a good trip. There's lots that we can do, or lots of different directions we can go. We can even have it draft the text message for us or the email for us. And so chat is a really, really useful function. Awesome. So next, I want to talk to you about teams and then personalization, and then we'll wrap it up there. Awesome. So we've covered some core use cases. Now, I promise you there's so much more CoVet can help with. And ultimately, it's up to you to kind of put it to the test and try it out in a number of different use cases. Don't forget, we have a completely free trial. You have unlimited access to the application in that time. Have some fun with it. Next, what I'd like to cover is the Teams function. So Teams is very important to allow individual contributors in the practice to collaborate on cases together. Now, Teams also has some other purposes. For instance, it allows you to centralize your billing all in one place, organize people by departments or by units of contributors. And so the main reason to have Teams is really to allow everybody to help out within the CoVet environment. So I'm just going to provide a couple examples. It might be that individual doctors are collaborating on a case together and they want to be able to hand that case off to one another or contribute some information to that case. So for case collaboration, it can be very powerful. It also involves the technicians and the support staff in the room. And so it could be that the RVT is going into the exam room in advance of the doctor and taking the initial history on their own device or on a device that's provided in the practice. And on a completely separate device, the doctor can walk in and on the same case, contribute additional recordings or additional content to that case, or even just generate documents immediately from what the RVT has just created on the case. And so that's kind of the main function of Teams. Now, I'll show you a quick example where I can actually pull up the CoVet application on my mobile phone. We do have iOS and Android, so really CoVet works anywhere that you do. On my screen in front of you is the web browser, but I've got my phone in front of me here, and so I'm actually going to go into the case that I have on the screen. I'm going to go and actually start a recording. So you can imagine this is the technician taking the initial history. And notice on my screen, it automatically showed that someone was recording in this case. So it's saying that my other profile is recording on the case for me. So this allows the team to be able to see what others are doing and how they're contributing. And take a look at this. If I pause the recording on this device, you can instantly see that it's no longer recording, and right away we have that recording come in. And you can see we've already named it initial history taking process because I mentioned that's what the technician was doing. And there's everything I just said in this video on the screen. And so as the DVM now, I can go in and continue that recording quite seamlessly. Now, the other aspect of Teams that is important is moving this into the PIMS. Now, CoVet works with any PIMS because we've made it really easy to export this information into any PIMS. And we really believe fundamentally this is at the core of building a true co-pilot. Doctors might switch practices, they might move from one PIMS to another, and we want it to be completely PIMS or practice management software agnostic, so that ultimately it's the individual's co-pilot. And so we think that that's really important. And so we've developed an export center to streamline that workflow. So just to show you an example, a doctor would come into the export center and check the for review section for themselves typically, and just make sure that they don't have any documents left for review. If they do, they can go in and review that document. They can edit that document directly from here. But once they're ready, they can mark that document as ready for export. And then they're done. The DVMs can move on with other things at that point, and they've saved a ton of time because CoVet's written the record, they quickly reviewed it, and then they marked it as ready to go. Now, a support staff member can come into CoVet, and their responsibility might be to check the ready column at the end of every day and make sure that everything in the ready column is moved into the PIMS. They can go and do this by copying individual sections of the record, copying the entire record, or downloading a PDF directly from the system. And once they're done, they're going to mark it as exported, and CoVet lets them know that the list is all caught up. And so that's our export functionality. Next, I'd like to cover personalization. So personalization was a focus for CoVet from day one. And this is because we've spent years working with veterinarians in multiple capacities and understanding that individual vets have individual preferences. And so we needed to build CoVet out of the gate to accommodate those individual preferences. I'll bring us to our account here where we can see first and foremost our templates. So of course, when we're generating a SOAP record or a summary or any other form of document, it's important that we can cater that to the individual preferences. We have those standard templates that we highlighted earlier. Those are the ones that we provide for our users. They can go into those and they can personalize those even further if they'd like. And it's as simple as literally just telling CoVet, make my record more concise, or some other level of information that I would like to provide. The other thing that we can do is we can actually go and build templates completely from scratch. If you're looking for a specific use case that our templates don't cover, or you just have a completely different desired format for your SOAP, you can go in and create any template that works for you. It's quite simple. We have a bunch of help documentation on how to create your own templates. But if someone's not wanting to get into the weeds of creating their own templates, that's also not an issue because they can email in a copy of one of their own records, and we have in-house doctors that will help them create templates to their liking because we want to make sure that CoVet's working nicely for every user that's on board. And so that's templates, but we do have a number of other personalization elements. So for instance, we have the ability to add custom abbreviations. We preload CoVet with a number of very common abbreviations, and you can even define which ones are client-facing. Some of the documents that CoVet will create are documents that you can hand the client so they can walk out the door with all the information they need. And so leveraging these custom abbreviations, we can know which things should be client-friendly and which ones are intended as a sort of internal document. We've got the ability to add custom snippets, and so I can add a completely customized piece of text. And this one's somewhat magical because you can actually just speak out loud during the consultation and say to CoVet something like, CoVet, insert my marijuana toxicity snippet into the assessment section of the record once you generate it. And I just say that out loud in the exam room, and then CoVet will go and insert that text into my record where I've directed it to do so. Misspellings is a way for us to add, maybe there's unique names local to my geography, or there's unique, drug names or diseases that sometimes maybe CoVet is getting incorrect. We can go and add those misspellings to ensure that if ever CoVet sees or misspells that word again, it will correct it for us. And so that also becomes pretty important. And in addition to these things, we have a number of levels of preferences, and we can indicate the hospital that we work at, the species that we see, if we specialize in a particular area, the units, if we want CoVet to include default normals or differentials, the level of detail that we're looking from CoVet. So a user can go very far into customizing CoVet to their particular needs, and that has been a very, very influential component of CoVet's success today. Thank you so much for reviewing all of these different features with me. I hope that was valuable for you to see. But as I've said a couple times now, there's a lot more that CoVet can do. So I definitely encourage you to reach out to our team and ask us questions. Go to our website. There's a live chat there. Send us an email or call us. We're more than happy to help you out. Thank you so much.